Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the annual Policing Town Hall here at Airdrie City Hall. We are hosting this today on March the 12th, 2026. It is now 6 o'clock p.m., so we want to get going right on time. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I am just so pleased to call this Policing Town Hall to order. First thing on the docket here, I want to make sure that we just handle a little bit of housekeeping. So for those of you that have not been to City Hall before, if you are looking for washrooms, they are just out the doors here down the hall. There are men's and ladies. And then, of course, in the event of an evacuation, we have exit points down this hall, through the door, through the hallway down to the door there, or out through the way in which you came in, which is our front doors. And of course, in case of an evacuation that requires us to vacate the building for a longer term, we will reschedule. I want to do a land acknowledgement, and I have to say we at the city have been really scrutinizing how we do these, and we really want to do them from a place of sincerity. And in a time like this, where division is so potent in the world, in our country, in our province, and in our city, these land acknowledgements are more important than ever, not just because of the history that we've experienced in these lands, but certainly the fact that we are all treaty people. So with that, we acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 7 territory, the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Piikani, Kainai Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and Stoney Nakoda Nations. We also acknowledge the Métis Nation, Métis District 4 of Otipemisiwak. So thank you again to everybody who's attending in person. And I especially want to thank the folks who are tuning in online as well. I know sometimes we're all just trying to make it work in this day and age. So we appreciate that. And we certainly appreciate those who took the time to email their questions in ahead of time or who took the time to fill in our survey. Community conversations like this are extremely, extremely important, hey, to ensuring our city remains safe, responsive, and connected. And the purpose of this town hall truly is about local policing and safety in Airdrie. It gives residents the opportunity to hear updates from our RCMP and our municipal enforcement, gives you the opportunity to ask questions, and it gives you the opportunity to share concerns and experiences from your own neighborhoods. Your feedback helps inform future policing priorities, and it helps with community safety planning. And as we all know, Airdrie continues to grow, and with that, so must our need to plan accordingly. Our community expectations and policing needs are growing at an exponential rate. We see that every day, and of course, we are so thrilled to be one of the communities in Canada with some of the lowest crime severity index. But this is why open dialogue between residents, council, RCMP, and municipal enforcement is just so darn important. So I'm just going to lay out a few ground rules for this evening, just so we can kind of keep the momentum moving forward and try and have as many fruitful discussions as possible. So we ask everyone to keep questions respectful and constructive. And tonight we're going to focus on issues specific to Airdrie. So questions related to the provincial or federal matters that are outside of the scope of this town hall are likely going to be moved along a little bit quicker, or potentially, depending on our time constraints, we may not get a chance to get to them at all. If a question has already been asked, please avoid repeating it so we can hear from as many people as possible. We appreciate everyone working together to keep the conversation productive and constructive. A couple introductions I'd like to make, of course. I'd like to acknowledge the members of City Council who are here this evening. I see a few of them. So I think I see Deputy Mayor Candice Coulson. I see Councillor Ron Chapman. I see Councillor Kristen Shima. Do we have anybody else from Council here tonight? They may be watching online, but I know they were quite interested. Everybody on Council is quite passionate about safety right now. And so just big thanks to you guys for listening in and being a part of this conversation. I think it says a lot to have you in the room, so everybody knows that it's not just them hearing this, but all of council as well. And then I want to acknowledge our policing committee. If you weren't aware, there was a bit of a restructuring per the province where we actually had to create a slightly different model for our policing committee. So we have some of those members here tonight, and we may have some watching online. So I'm just going to say all of their names so you know who they are. And then if you're in the room, by all means, raise your hand. It may just be you actually, but we'll see. We'll see. I think that's it. So on our policing committee, of course, we have chairing it is Mo Shakat. I don't think he's here tonight, but he's a citizen member and he's the policing committee chair. We've got Keith Bott in the room. He is one of our citizen members. Thank you, Keith, for being here. And then we have Samina Shakat. She's a citizen member. And then, of course, we have a couple council representatives, which would be our councillor, Ron Chapman, and our deputy mayor, who is the vice chair of the committee, which is Deputy Mayor Candace Coulson. All right. We also have all of our crew here from the policing and municipal enforcement piece. But Jill, I'm going to hand this over to you so you can do those introductions. If you don't know, Jill Iverson is one of our incredible communications people here at the city, and she works tirelessly to put up with all of our nonsense, but she also puts up with putting some of these more exciting events together. So thank you, Jill, for you and your team putting this on. And I'm going to hand it over to you.
I wrote that kudos to myself in her speaking notes. Just kidding, I did not. All right, thank you, Mayor. And I would like to start by introducing our panel for this evening. I'm going to start with members of the RCMP. So we'll start with Inspector Lauren Weir, if you want to give us a wave. Staff Sergeant Chris Zanadine. We have Sergeant Steve Huff. Nope, didn't come. Sergeant Dale Veal. Constable Jessica Hawkins, and Corporal Sean Cameron. Nope, not here. That's okay. That's okay.
So if I could introduce, he is in charge of our plaincloser GIS position. Sergeant Dave Veal and Constable Jessica Hawkins. So Sergeant Dave Veal is our ops support NCO, and he manages the community unit, which is supervised by Constable Jessica Hawkins. And we just had some substitutions because some of the folks were going to be away, and they're here. So they're proud and happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you. On the municipal enforcement side, we have Kevin Weinberger. He is the Director of Community Safety and Social Services. Lynn McKenzie, who's the Manager of Municipal Enforcement and RCMP Support Services. And Brad Tomlinson, who's the Team Leader of Municipal Enforcement. Thank you both all for being here as well. So the agenda for the evening, we're going to open with a presentation from Municipal Enforcement. They're going to share some of their statistics and what they're working on with you. And then we're going to have a presentation from the RCMP. And then we're going to open it up to the Q&A portion for the evening. And when we get to the Q&A portion, I can reiterate this again. But if you have a question that you would like to ask, you can come up to this middle table, press the button on the microphone till the light comes on, and then feel free to ask your question. Just a reminder of the ground rules that the mayor outlined. And with that, I'm happy to hand it over to Lynn and Brad for the presentation on municipal enforcement.
Jill.
Great. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us, both in person and online, for our annual Policing Town Hall. It is encouraging to see so many residents taking an active interest in safety and well-being of our community. I would also like to recognize and thank the members of our policing committee, along with mayor and council, for their continued leadership and commitment to community safety. Your support is essential in the work we do. Municipal enforcement is made up of 15 community peace officers, 2 admin assistants, and a chief licensing officer. Our team works closely with partner agencies, including the RCMP, fire department, provincial regulators, and various municipal departments, to ensure coordinated responses and consistent service to residents. Our day-to-day collaboration with the RCMP ensures that concerns are directed to the appropriate agency and that we collectively address community priorities. As Brad will highlight shortly, it has been a busy year for municipal enforcement, with increased call volumes and the addition of the Airdrie Animal Services Center. Despite this growth, our team remains focused on 3 core priorities: road safety, community engagement, and bylaw compliance. Guided by an education-first approach, we aim to build understanding, voluntary compliance, and strong partnerships across the community. Thank you again for joining us this evening and for your continued commitment to the safety of our community. We look forward to your questions and feedback as we work towards to support a safe and thriving Airdrie. And I'm going to pass it to Brad.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Tomlinson. I've been with the City of Airdrie since 2014. I am the team leader of municipal enforcement, and I oversee our team composition. I'm going to walk through everything, but just wanted to say thank you to everybody who took the time to show up in this wonderful weather that we're having. Our core services, so we operate out of the detachment in town alongside the RCMP, promoting the safety and well-being of Airdrie residents. Our enforcement services provides municipal law enforcement within the city of Airdrie boundaries, including traffic, select provincial statutes, and bylaw investigation. Our department's focused on an inclusive relationship-based model that promotes collective ownership of community safety and well-being. As such, we're committed to intentional and purpose-driven enforcement that supports community partnerships and collaborative initiatives. Our team consists, as mentioned by Lynn, of 2 teams, so it's 4 on, 4 off for those officers. Each team has 5 officers on it. They're covering all general duty calls. There's 2 sergeants that oversee each team. We have a dedicated traffic member, and new this year, we are also adding an additional traffic member as well as a community liaison officer, which I'll touch on. Within the department, we also have a chief business license officer, 2 administrators, and we have now 5 staff assigned to the new Airdrie Animal Care Center. Some of our operational highlights, and I'll touch on each of these, but I'll get further into it as we progress through the slides. In 2025, municipal enforcement had 5,229 total files. We targeted road safety operations, including commercial vehicle roadside inspections, loud vehicle targeting, street racing operations, as well as school blitzes. Opening of the Airdrie Animal Services, which again I will touch on. Officers participated in community events throughout the year with information booths. Officers also conducted numerous classroom presentations for elementary and middle school students, as well as community child and youth groups. Community peace officers in Airdrie also play a very important role in promoting safety, dignity, and well-being for all residents, especially those who are vulnerable, experiencing hardship. Their work extends beyond enforcement, focusing heavily on outreach, trying to connect them with other resources. We work with the PAC team here in Airdrie, as well as other community resources, and trying to align these individuals with that. 2025, our calls for service. Over the past 2 years, since the inception of our dedicated dispatch system, as the city continues to grow, municipal enforcement has seen a sharp rise in calls for service. 2025 year was a 39% increase in calls for service, bringing this total to 5,229 files. In 2024, it was 3,761. For commercial vehicle enforcement in 2025, we worked towards officer training and capacity building in our community. We trained an additional 3 officers who have successfully completed their 3 weeks of CVSA training and months of inspection leading up to their certification, bringing our team now to 5 officers. This has expanded capacity and strengthens our ability to conduct commercial vehicle inspections, as well as respond to complaint-driven enforcement and support safety blitzes across the city. In 2025, we had 56 vehicles passed, 56 needing attention, and 83 fails. School traffic and our safety initiatives. So great thing about Town Hall is it allowed us to see some highlighted issues last year, and we're continuing to work on this. So to enhance safety and improve consistency around Airdrie school zones, municipal enforcement is implementing a new quadrant-based school patrol strategy. So the city will be divided into 4 quadrants, or is now this school year. And this allows for officers to be assigned regardless of what day they're on. If that particular zone has more schools or more problem areas, we can allocate the staff to that area while consistent coverage in all other quadrants. For community engagement, it's a continuing priority for municipal enforcement. And as mentioned previously, our new community liaison officer will play a vital role in continuing success in this area for us. For 2025, we participated in 51 total community and school events. Now, this was brought back from last year a little bit, so we had hit 100 last year. However, with the increase in our call volumes, a lot of time and our officers have been dedicated to that. But we did keep this going, and the idea is that this new position will help facilitate to support kind of the demand within our community, where we do special community events, working on school patrols, community booth engagement, as previously mentioned, and working with local community groups. New this year, so the city of Airdrie has been working very hard. Our department has the Airdrie Animal Services Center, establishing a new municipal animal shelter at 2 East Lake Way here in Airdrie, expected to be fully operational mid-2026, realistically to be quite soon. Currently, stray, lost, or injured animals are managed through municipal enforcement, and that will continue. However, we will have a facility that's capable of meeting residents' needs. Long-term outlook is it'll be able to grow with the city and meet all of our needs, both from lost animals, animal licensing, as well as future training and development. And I'm just going to pass it back over to Lynn to cover our overarching strategies.
Thanks, Brad. So just touching quickly, Airdrie takes a holistic approach to traffic safety, which extends beyond enforcement. We do have members of our engineering team here tonight to answer any specific questions regarding this information. The following are some primary tools the city uses to develop and implement our traffic strategy. Airdrie's traffic strategy is grounded in its transportation master plan, which guides long-term roadway intersection interchange planning to support the city's continued growth. Traffic signals and tools. These tools ensure that intersection control measures, including traffic signals and pedestrian controls, are implemented based on data-driven warrant assessments and operational needs. Modernized signal infrastructure investment in upgraded and energy-efficient infrastructure, such as LED signal technology, enhances safety, reliability, and visibility throughout the road network. Traffic data and collection monitoring tools. Traffic counts and intersection reviews inform evidence-based decision-making. Emergency signal preemption GPS-based systems enable fire to navigate through intersections safely and efficiently by preempting signal phases during emergency response. And finally, the Traffic Advisory Committee, which is made up of representatives from engineering, public works, municipal enforcement, planning, and RCMP to review requests regarding road safety. This may involve road marking, signage, crosswalks, traffic lights, etc. Finally, we wanted to briefly touch on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. The CSWB contract has been awarded to the Canadian Centre for Safer Communities. The objective of this plan is to develop a comprehensive community safety and well-being plan that will identify local priorities, leverage data and community input, and propose coordinated actions to improve safety, inclusion, and overall well-being of residents. The consultant will lead all aspects of research, interest holder engagement, data analysis, and plan development in alignment with best practices and applicable legislation. Work is already underway on Airdrie's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. The development began with a review of existing data, relevant policies, plans, and strategies. This will help set the context and ensure that the plan is aligned with other municipal initiatives and will help identify any gaps at the existing data that will require further interest holder or public engagement. Further, following best practices, administration has worked with the Canadian Centre for Safer Communities to establish an advisory group to provide guidance and direction in the development of the plan. The advisory group is made up of both city staff and external representatives from a number of sectors and is intended to help ensure that the plan is rooted in the community and reflects the needs, experiences, and interests of the community. The Canadian Centre for Safer Communities facilitates the work of the advisory group, and the inaugural meeting took place in February and will continue throughout the project. I think that's it. And we're looking forward to the discussion tonight, and we'll turn it over to the RCMP.
I'm just going to jump in. Lynn, before you turn it over to the RCMP, thank you for that. I don't know if this is working, but I feel like you can all hear me. All right, so thank you. Give us a wave. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. And echoing all, thank you so much for coming. I can honestly say that Airdrie is probably one of the more engaged communities that I have worked in. And I sincerely appreciate, I can't hear in the back. Can you hear in the back? Okay, sorry about that. But now she's on my papers. So I just wanted to say thank you. Airdrie has always been, I've been here about 5.5 years now. I can honestly say that both the mayor and council, the citizens have always been engaged in and care about what's happening in Airdrie. And it allows us, as stated earlier, just to make sure that we are aligned with what the community's expectations are. And of course, our role is public safety, and that is our primary focus. And if we can work together and make sure that we are aligning ourselves and adjusting as required, that is always our goal. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we establish our annual policing priorities. So we analyze crime statistics. Caitlin has been introduced to you. We are an intelligence-led focus on all of our policing. She provides us timely and emerging crime trends, the statistics. The crime severity index also helps guide where we focus and the direction that we are taking with respect to that. We also monitor our habitual offenders, those people that commit the most crimes in Airdrie are the ones that we want to get to know very well and encourage them to move along or stop coming to Airdrie. Our job is to make them uncomfortable, and that is either by arresting them or encouraging them not to come and shop in Airdrie, so to speak. And our hotspots, which change regularly, they're often seasonal. And we can speak a little bit about how all that rolls together. And consultation, we consult with probation, parole, other police agencies. So not only our neighboring RCMP detachments, but obviously CPS, who is very close and borders along 3 or 4 different districts. Alberta Health Services, Addiction Services, and one of our big partners are the schools, the school districts. Of course, our police committee, our mayor and council, through the town hall, are in our community consultation. And this year, very, very happy that a survey was done, and the number of citizens who responded to the survey really will help underscore where we need to be putting our resources. Next slide, please. So last year, our annual performance plan, or the police, we don't do calendar year, of course, because it's, not the same as everyone else. So our year is from April 1st to the March 31st. So we are still in this year, which is why I'm speaking of it. And so last year, again, crime reduction, community engagement, and road safety were the priorities. And underneath each of those were the things that we do, or the initiatives that each member does to support those priorities. Next slide, please. So the crime reduction priority, again, focusing on intelligence-led policing model, and this is through analytics at helping to identify those who are the most actively engaged in criminal activities. And quite frankly, there are a small number of offenders who commit most of the crimes in Airdrie. So the targets that we select for engagement is through engagement with our partner agencies, probation, parole, and we monitor through bail compliance checks by our officers with a great deal of enthusiasm. The crime reduction unit that falls under Staff Sergeant Steve Brown, their unit focuses specifically on project-specific activities which address emergency crimes, and again, targeting those based on the analytics and the information sharing between CPS through our provincial RCMP analysts and funneling down through Caitlin. And those can change frequently and often. So we are able, this unit is able to select where we can get the most bang for our buck, so to speak. Airdrie now enjoys a fully staffed police and crisis team, which we call the PAC team, with the clinician joining our team in July of 2025. And that allows now a full team to respond to those in crisis. The Special Investigative Unit investigates sensitive and high-risk complex domestic and sex assault complaints. Next slide, please. So community engagement really is about being visible in the community and those who are our most front facing are our youth liaison officers or school resource officers. They work in and with the schools in Airdrie. Under that, the community unit, we have a positive directions program that is supported by a social worker. And there are youth who are identified through the schools and participate in voluntary, and the positive directions member with the social worker work directly with the youth and the family in order to help support them in making good choices, keeping them connected, either reconnected back into the schools, and helping them through some of the tough times they have. Sometimes it's connecting them to programming that they are not aware that they can access. But our goal is to get them reconnected in community, whether it's school or otherwise, but mostly to be successful in making good choices and staying out of criminal activity. The community policing resource officers, they are working with Citizens on Patrol, all of the schools. I think there are 29 currently. They also partner with Airdrie First, Canadian Cancer Society, and also Constable Hawkins manages the media relations. Our SIU unit, as I said, they work closely with, in collaboration, supporting victims and families, and particularly strong connection with Luna. The bike patrol, the community unit, through the summer months, they will pivot to bike patrol, which allows us to sort of extend our footprint into the places where people are in the summer, where our traditional vehicles can't go. So we are looking forward to moving to that in the summer as well. And then they are very, very involved in all of the community events in Airdrie, as many as they can. They often partner, again, as indicated, with municipal enforcement for the fairs, parades, and other special events that are close to the heart of the city and the mayor and council. Next slide, please. So our police and crisis team, as mentioned, it has modernized, and we are incredibly happy that we have a funded position that is paid for by Recovery Alberta. And in addition to the crisis response, PACT is able to support identified high-risk clients post-crisis. The mental health calls have decreased over the last year, I'm happy to say, and I feel that a lot of this has contributed to the frontline PACT model that have been successful in the initial crisis response, but also ensuring that our folks are connected to the supports within the community, which helps to prevent another crisis from occurring. And this team, again, works collaboratively in partnership with Recovery Alberta and all of the various community support groups within Airdrie. Next slide, please. So road safety. One of the things I can say every year, every single year, road safety is one of the number one issues that are brought forward by the citizens. And Brad spoke to how there has been an effort, because there are so many schools, that they have divided the city into 4 quadrants, and the municipal enforcement works with Jessica, and every morning the members of the community unit are assigned a specific zone. General duty are also expected and will also do the patrols and be assigned to those 4 quadrants in an effort to make the school pick up and drop offs during lunch, school start, and after schools as possible. This has been tremendously successful. It started at the beginning of the year with, making them aware of public awareness, et cetera, and then through enforcement as required. Our goal is to change some of the driving behaviors to making them more positive. As our city grows, as all of the neighborhoods open up that weren't open, that there wasn't streets intersecting with some of our mainstreams, we do know that traffic is a huge issue. And as we grow, we have more traffic. The focus for us, for our program, is distracted driving, seatbelts, intersection enforcement, and speeding. So we do increase the hotspots. And as I said, that moves. So during the lunch breaks and in the summer, we will target the places, the fast food places where the kids go. This is not just about traffic. This is about trying to make those spaces comfortable for the people that are in them. So that it prevents bullying, some assaults, and just making that presence allows people to move more freely through those. Next slide, please. So I want to move into sort of the calls for service. So the file count this year is 18,617. That is up just over 2,000 from last year. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to point out where our top 10 files by workload. So that means what files do we have that take the largest amount of time? So it's Mental Health Act. It's non-moving traffic. So that's things such as registration and insurance and things like that. Harassing communications. So in this time of social media platforms and multiple ones, often the harassing communications is not a surprise. Assaults, disturbing the peace, fraud, less or equal to 5,000. MVC, so that's motor vehicle collisions and property damage, which is reportable. Sex assaults, other moving traffic, so that is the speeding, red light tickets, and then the Assist Canadian Police, so that's assisting CPS or another municipal agency. Next slide, please. So these are the top 10 file types by count. So this is again where the bulk of our files are. So we look at the speeding violations. I know that again, a lot of the questions were focused on, where are we? We're not writing speeding tickets, those sorts of things. They are being written. There are a lot of streets and a lot of footprint of Airdrie as it grows. The next is, again, moving traffic, other moving traffic, breach of the peace, suspicious vehicles and property. And we love those, so please call whenever you see that something isn't right. That's what we need to do, is be aware. Assist general public well-being checks. Again, property damage, collisions, intersection violations, which again was one of the other concerns that were brought forward, and Mental Health Act. So again, those are our top 10. Next slide, please. So the municipal crime gauge, it reflects where we're at with the percentage. So you can see that our persons crimes increased by 1%, property crime by 3%, and overall, we had the break and enters were down, fewer, and lost myself here. But there was a significant increase in motor vehicle thefts, and I want to speak a little bit about that, and also a 19% increase in theft under. So the less than 1% increase of person crimes were driven primarily by the criminal harassment. So I spoke about that often. It's on uttering threats, and it's through an online platform. Although sexual assaults have decreased by 19% as compared to 2021, all other person crimes have decreased. So the increase of other criminal code is primarily driven, as we said, by disturbing the peace, compliance failures. So that is when we are checking those who are on conditions released and living in the community. So arguably, I cheer when I see that we have an increase in non-compliance or breaches. That means that our members are doing those checks and that we are charging those folks who are non-compliant. Our goal is to force compliance. We want to help those that are released on bail be successful, and when they're not, we want to charge them and we want to have them go back before the judge and determine whether or not they should be released or not. So I don't hate that that is up. I am happy that it is. The bottom half of this gauge says, so property crime is showing a breakdown. So basically the B&Es have decreased by 3% in 2025 over 2024. And this is likely due in part to the work done by our crime reduction unit, resulting in a few offenders known to be involved in multiple B&Es being arrested and are incarcerated. Theft under has increased by 19% in 2025. However, in 2024, it was abnormally low. So there has been a significant uptick in retail thefts in Airdrie and surrounding Airdrie. Cross Iron Mall is one of them, and they are specific groups that a small number of groups, small groups, typically from Calgary, who travel around and commit a lot of the shoplifting or thefts from the retail properties. Again, the thefts of motor vehicles, I want to touch on that because that is an alarming increase. But again, this through our analytics, thank you, Caitlin, is primarily the result of multiple groups of cross-jurisdictional criminals targeting Airdrie and other communities in the Calgary urban area. So the Okotoks, Cochranes, all of the same. Through the analytics of Caitlin, our provincial analysts, they can often signal to our detachment that certain groups are active here. They haven't hit Airdrie yet, so they likely will. This allows us, allows Staff Sergeant Brown to, again, to adjust, have our surveillance teams out and have our uniformed officers in those targeted areas where we're concerned or believe that they may hit. We're not always successful, but we've have had recently a number that have been intercepted. So we're very thankful for that. Next slide, please. I want to talk about the crime severity index that was mentioned by Mayor Spearman. So Airdrie enjoys one of the lower crime severity indexes in the province for municipalities. So we are now at 43.2. The overall CSI for Alberta for 2024 was 95.6. So we are doing fine. We are happy with that. And the crime severity index is measured by, it's captured by Statistics Canada. And the goal of that is to measure the types of crimes, allows us to understand what is happening in the types of crimes and the severity therein. So so it's not that we don't have crime in Airdrie, but the severity of that crime is such that allows our crime severity index to be where it is, and we are very happy about that. If you look at 2015 at 81.6 and where we are today in 2024 is 43.2. So the crime severity index is posted and calculated federally. So it is available in July of the next. So we'll get 2025s in July of this year. So that's why it sounds like I'm talking about 2 years ago, but this is what is available. And so I'm very happy with what Airdrie has continued to be able to support. Next slide, please. I just wanted to do a little bit of some of the main contributors and drivers to our crime severity index. So the chart here will tell you what the top contributors to the CSI, and that's fraud, break and enter, assault, mischief to property, theft under, sexual assaults, other criminal code offenses, of which there are about 8 pages, everything from trespassing by night to high treason. It's a very broad other criminal codes. Ours are mostly breach of compliance and things like that, and causing a disturbance. Uttering threats, drug enforcement, trafficking, and theft of motor vehicle. So overall, and then the decreasing drivers that has helped us to drop it again is that we've had a slight drop in our break and enters. We've had a decrease in the number of sexual assaults reported and our theft unders. So overall, this is sort of how we look at it and where we need to focus what our officers are doing and what they're focusing on specifically with crime reduction. Next slide, please. So our municipal crime statistics, again, they're very similar. So our other criminal code is up 8 to 830 from 729. Very small or marginal increase of 58 files or reported incidents relating to property offenses, and our total persons are up by 4 complaints. So we aren't out of control as far as it's a very gradual incline, or it's statistically is what is it that Caitlin says? Statistically insignificant, I think is what she says, something like that. So there's not a huge number. So we're holding our own, I think. Next slide, please. Domestic violence. This is one area that is rising, and it is a concern. And overall, they increased by 8% in 2025 as compared to 2024. There are a number of so reporting of these, some can argue that when we have a higher volume, it means that people are comfortable in reporting to police. It is not uncommon. I think it is known by most that a lot of domestic violence incidents go unreported. So again, although it has increased over last year, I like to think that certainly Jessica's group does a great deal of presentations in the schools talking about family violence, what it looks like, all of those things that is important for people to know what domestic violence looks like and sounds like. So part of that is what I believe it is increasing some of our calls for service. And again, the complex ones are investigated by our special investigative unit that is led by Staff Sergeant Brown. Next slide, please. So mental health, I did indicate we had a little bit of a lower calls for service overall for the year. So again, that tells me that I feel that we are on the right track with respect to our frontline policing response to our crisis. And Jessica will speak a little bit later with respect to the training that our officers have and our PAC team specifically. Next slide, please. There we go.
Thank you, Inspector Weir. Appreciate all of those insights, and those were really great statistics to share with us. All right, not going to happen. And hear me because I don't have my.
No, you don't. I was just going to say if we can get you into another microphone.
Yes.
Come sit.
Is that better? Nope. Still no. Thank you, Candace. That worked. So I'll just go back by saying, if anyone's listening online and they would like to submit a question, the email is still open and being monitored throughout the evening. And the email is police.townhall@airdrie.ca. So we're going to open up with questions from the audience who came to be here tonight, and we really appreciate that you did come here tonight. When you come up to this middle table, press the button on the microphone, red light will turn on, and you're ready to go. Just a reminder, let's keep it to things that are impacting Airdrie and the things that we actually have some impact on. And I'm happy to open it up for our first questions if anyone wants to be the brave first person. Yeah, it had to be someone.
Hello, my name is Peter Fizessery. I'm one of the HOA directors in Chinook 8. One of the things I've been seeing a lot over the last 2 years is high-speed traffic down the streets itself, specifically Chinook 8 Parade. We see large trucks as part of the construction that's going on in the nearby area, taking the street where there's children playing sometimes, high-speed vehicles delivering food. We've had others in our community approach two of the people who are doing it frequently, and they're told they don't care how fast they're going. They're going over 30 down the street when children are playing. On top of that, as we get into the warmer months, we start seeing groups of 4 or 5 children, some live in our subdivision, that walk around and start destroying things, spray painting things, trying to get into people's cars. A lot of our residents have cameras up, and they also report to our HOA that things are happening. People are going around and trying to get into vehicles. They've recorded people actually getting into vehicles, and then the police arrive and then they take off. I understand that as a smaller community, it's difficult to police everything and be everywhere all the time. So my concern mostly is about the children in our neighborhood. And as we get warm, the children are going to be out on the street, playing in our parks. And we want to make sure it's safe. And the people driving down the streets, the side streets and whatnot, high speed is a concern for their safety. And also the large trucks, the cement trucks, the construction trucks taking parade instead of going down the boulevard to leave the area. Now, I have mentioned this to Brookfield, and they do mention and pass it on to them, but it keeps reoccurring. That's everything. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm wondering if this is best addressed by municipal enforcement and maybe then RCMP as well. It's kind of a tag team here.
Can you hear me okay? Sorry, I see you sat down there. So first off, thanks for bringing those concerns forward. Really appreciate the information. We are data driven with our enforcement, unfortunately, so that's a huge help. So this evening, something we've done different for this year is we also brought in our dedicated traffic member as well as our sergeant who's at the table outside. So for targeted enforcement in the area, I would love it if you could bring that information over to them, and then we'll collaborate afterwards, create a targeted enforcement plan. But additionally to that, with regards to the children in your community, I think it would be valuable if we collaborate afterwards and look at an educational piece. We'd be more than willing to do that. We've done it in Windsong, meet with providing, the group and the community's open to it, and host a little bit of an information session about just safety around roads. We do have commercial vehicle experts. Two of them are sitting out there right now, so they can certainly address the truck pieces. And for the break and enter stuff, I will leave that over to the RCMP. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Peter. It was good to hear that you'd said when people have called that the police have came and investigated. So as my role as the operations NCO, that is really what I look for. So on top of responsive policing, our members are out nightly. We have enhanced policing program, Airdrie Safe City Nights, where our members are on shift to do exactly that: patrol the streets, look for hotspot areas. Inspector Weir spoke about our Project Arrow enforcing curfew checks. enforcement is happening on the way to those checks. We have citizens on patrol that are out quite active. And as for the road bans, I'm not sure, Brad, with the construction traffic going down particular streets, I'm not aware of if there's any kind of a limit on where they can go or not. So I'm not sure about that aspect.
Yeah, so it's weight dependent and it would be the shortest route to delivery once you exit a truck route. But again, the commercial vehicle experts out there would be more than happy to take all the information and start looking into it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room before I go to an email question? Okay. I'm not saying your chance is over. Just get yourself warmed up. We did get quite a few questions submitted, and well over half of them were about speeding. And so instead of reading each person's comment individually, I have lumped them together a little bit in the speeding. And so just because it's slightly different than what was asked before, I'm just going to mention that someone had mentioned East Lake Boulevard in particular for speeding, and specifically through the Burtchurch High School school zone. And also mentioning East or Elk Hill Southwest and Main Street north of Veterans. And all of these are speeding, and in particular in school zones. So I'm wondering if there can just be some response about school zones and speeding in particular.
Yes, thank you. I can speak to that. As Inspector Weir said earlier, one of our priorities at the detachment is road safety, which has a direct correlation to public safety for the citizens of Airdrie. So I can assure you that we do enforce speeding, we do target speeders, and then for the year of 2025, our stats for speeding were 2,095 tickets were issued for speeders. How do we do that? We have our general duty members that are on shift day and night that are responsible for enforcing the rules of the road. We also have enhanced shifts that run day and night. Again, their priority is road safety and targeting offenders of the Traffic Safety Act. With our patrols and our enforcement, we do identify hotspots or priorities, whether they're school zones or other areas of the city. And we also rely on the public or we encourage the public to report any hotspots that we can help enforce and control the speeding. With school zones in particular, again, we do have our daily general duty members that are out. But as was mentioned earlier, we also have a partnership with our municipal partners during school hours, in the morning, lunch, and at the end of the day, where we are partnered up with our municipal partners. The city's been divided into 4 quadrants, and members are dedicated to those quadrants and the school zones within them. So we are out there, and we do enforce the school zones and the speeds within them.
Thank you very much. I will open it up back to the floor again. Welcome.
Thank you. We were going to wait, but you were just so convincing, Jill. So as mentioned before, we are from the Airdrie Board of Youth Affairs. My name is Mahek.
My name's Alexis.
And my name's Mason.
Thank you. We think it's so important for youth to attend events like this because so many things about community safety and policing directly impact youth, but we're not always given the chance to provide our input. So we really appreciate you all hosting this event. I'm going to let Alexis go first.
So our first question is, what is one thing RCMP wish youth understood about policing? And what is one thing that officers are trying to understand better about youth today?
Hello, thank you for that question. So I believe the first one is, what do you guys want us to better understand, or you guys to understand? So biggest thing is we're here to assist, help. We want to hear from you guys all the time. One of my goals in the coming years is to build a youth town council. I know Red Deer has that, so I'm trying to duplicate that for here so we can hear from you guys more often. But yeah, we're here to work with you guys, hear the complaints and successes within the community. So just knowing that we're here to support you guys is our biggest thing. And sorry, what was the second question?
Sorry, one second. Yeah. What are like you wishing to understand better about youth today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just everything is so evolving nowadays. So I think just that open communication. So like I mentioned, that Youth Town Council would really allow that direct, more often communication to understand what's popular, what's troubling you guys, what do we need to work on and present to you guys. So I just think that open dialogue. Same with when we're in the schools, being able to come up to us more and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Perfect. My turn. I have two. So, since youth are frequent pedestrians and transit users, how does the Traffic Advisory Committee ensure that youth perspectives are included when they make decisions about road safety?
That's a great question. So we do have a representative with TAC in the audience who could probably help. I do sit on that as well. If you could can you repeat the tail end of that question?
Yeah, it's just, how does the Traffic Advisory Committee ensure that youth perspectives are included when they make those decisions?
It's a good question.
Any decision.
I think Kyle could probably most
I
best
think Kyle
help
was,
answer this
yeah.
question. So he's just going to come up.
So for those
Oh,
in the room,
Yeah, sorry,
Kyle
Director
is,
Wilkins.
is one of our directors here at the city. He's responsible for infrastructure, so it's related to roads and all sorts of super exciting stuff. But welcome, Kyle. Thank you for your surprise guest appearance.
No, thank you very much. And so I do chair our traffic advisory committee here for the city of Airdrie. And so in regards to the youth perspective for traffic related issues, generally we rely on two metrics for that. One is the school resource officers when they are available to attend. And if not, then we normally will, sometimes we'll table an item until we have that feedback from them. The other option that we generally have for that is we'll actually reach out to the principals for any school-related issues or any issues related and adjacent to a school, just to make sure that the issue itself has been brought to the school's attention as well. They're able to engage with any of the students within that community, any of the parents or any of the boards with that school, so that we can have that feedback provided back to the committee before we make a decision on any safety matters, just so they have that youth perspective.
Perfect, thank you. And then also, what training do Airdrie officers receive on working with youth, especially if it's involving mental health or conflict within schools?
Okay, so I'm going to join this. There's actually an email question very similar to this. So I'll go ahead and join those. So I did write out a couple of our training. So we do receive extensive training in mental health awareness. So this is for adults, seniors, youth, everything in between. Crisis intervention, de-escalation techniques. So those are always changing, being upgraded within the society. So we have to do that constantly throughout our careers. We have continuous training. So training does include scenario-based training focused on communication, risk assessment, and safety, resolving situations involving individuals in crisis. And then another ongoing part of that, so we have our PAC team that work with the youth, seniors, and everybody in between, like I stated. Every month that we have monthly meetings with all of Alberta PAC teams, so we can have lessons learned, how we can do better, that kind of stuff. So that's super helpful for our team. And then again, working closely with Recovery Alberta. So that helps as well to identify better solutions for working with youth as well.
Okay, and the last one, many youth say they only interact with police after something bad has already happened. Other than school visits or school officers, what would you say City of Airdrie is doing to build those relationships before problems happen?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So if I could have 80 more members, I completely would. There's lots of schools, lots of kids. We'd love to get ahead of the game. Yeah, the main thing is we're in schools, we're trying to do presentations, we're trying to reach you guys, trying to, like this year, going to Genesis Place where the popular areas that the youth are hanging out and having those conversations. Just saying hello, knowing to approach us. I think those are very important. And then again, hearing back from you guys, that town council, about where we should be meeting with you guys, right? Same with community events. There's lots throughout the summer and winter. Those are perfect opportunities to speak to one another and just engage in normal conversation.
And if I could lean in a little bit, could you speak about our RCMP youth camp and some of those pieces? Thank you.
So last year we held our first youth camp. So that was July. I think it was I have the dates here. It was like the 12th to the 17th. So it was at our Ralph McCall school. And so basically we had held a police scenario throughout the week. So the youths got to kind of solve the crime throughout the week, and we had specialty units coming in every day. So it was police dogs coming in, or tactical teams coming in, drones, all that kind of stuff. So every day they got to work one-on-one with them. We had a fitness component, that kind of stuff. Lots of questions were coming in, similar to yours today. How do we work better together? What do we need from each other? So it was a huge success. It was fun for us, fun for them. Lots of feedback as well, and we plan on holding it again this year. Applications aren't quite sent out, but we did have it in the newspaper last year, so I'll do it again this year. So it should be in July again, and we'll have about 10 to 12 applicants that we'll take into the camp.
Jessica, sorry, just on that topic, because that sounds wonderful.
Yes.
Can you elaborate? You mentioned you're going to post the applications when they're ready in the newspaper. Where else can parents and families look for this information if they want to sign their kids up?
Yeah, great question. So this year, we learned a lot from last year. So we're going to be going into the schools. We're going to have little info sessions so they can speak to us directly with any questions. We'll have the application forms there. So first, in the coming weeks, we have a to-do list, and it's going to be within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to send out the posters, information to all the schools. And then from there, I organize with the schools so we can have 1 or 2 members in each of the high schools to sit down and have those little info sessions. And then getting it in the paper, Airdrie website, as many places as I can. I have also inquired on getting that application on the City of Airdrie site, so it's super accessible to everybody. And yeah, of course, at the detachment schools, as many places I can get it out there. Yeah.
And just before you run away, I'm just going to add one thing. Another place that we hear feedback from youth is the RCMP survey that goes out, a policing survey every year. And we did campaign heavily trying to target youth to answer, and we got quite a few, which is great, but we'd love to hear more. So maybe next year we'd like to lean on you guys to hear more about how do we get that into their hands and get some responses from your peers.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, we're always looking to advocate and do those questions, so that would be really great. Yeah, and thank you everyone for your answers. That was very detailed. We appreciate it.
Now those well-spoken youth are probably going to scare everyone else from wanting to come up. But I'll offer it again up to the room. Is anyone ready to come up? Yep, right here.
Good evening. I was curious, in Big Springs, we seem to have quite a problem with school buses speeding on a regular basis. I realize students have to get to school on time, but consistently we have school buses racing up and down the street. Also, around 9:30 or 10 in the morning, I drive a commercial vehicle myself. When I've been off this winter, and constantly there's school buses parked here, parked there, like Is there not some regulation on that?
Thanks, Drew. I could speak to the speeding aspect. When you've called in those speeders, has there been a response from the police? Have you seen us come to the location to do the enforcement at all?
I've seen a couple of cruisers around recently, but in the early part of the morning, like as students are headed to school, constantly the school buses are racing down the street. Like, I've never followed them to see the speed that they're traveling, but there's just a blur when they go by the house.
So if you haven't called before, I would definitely encourage to call us, and we'll come. And to call the non-emergency number. We collect a lot of the hotspots. I can tell you, I write a sizable amount of tickets myself in Airdrie, and many of the places, if not all of them, are as a result of people that have called, stopped us on the street, said, you know, be here. They're speeding here, there. Again, as Inspector Weir had said, there's very large footprint of roadway in Airdrie, and can't be everywhere, but we do try to be where the complaints are. It's definitely a complaint-driven process. Yeah, we definitely can target those places like we do many spots in Airdrie. That's no problem. As for, I don't know of any, Brad, I don't know of any bans on buses specifically, but I'm sure you can probably speak on that more intelligently than I can.
Yeah, so again, thank you for coming and bringing these great questions. I am familiar with that area. We have dealt with some bus stuff in the past in there. That being said, if it's within their daytime route, it is acceptable under the standards set out in the bylaw. But if it's after hours and they're storing buses on the road, then we do have bylaws for that. And I would encourage you to phone us and we would rectify it immediately, start investigating.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I saw another person jump up at the back there. Yep, come on up.
Mayor, thank you very much. Councilors, thank you. Bureaucrats, thank you very much for hosting this event. We are here to discuss public safety in our communities. When it comes to public safety, I believe that the greatest Mounties to engage in public safety have shot themselves dead. They will no longer terrorize their family with physical abuse. They will no longer sexually assault their coworkers, because it is public knowledge that the RCMP can't keep their genitalia to themselves. This has cost us Canadian tax dollars approximately $3.3 billion in paying out victims. We also have a large class action lawsuit that is proceeding through the courts right now that many analysts are indicating going to cost us Canadian citizens a lot more money. Looking through the parliamentary gazette, one particular thing struck a chord to me this year, indicating that the RCMP is now charging $175,000 per Mountie, per vehicle for municipalities. My question to the city of Airdrie is, we've seen the RCMP bleed Canadians dry for a very little service that we're getting back. Danielle Smith has insinuated that she will work with communities who no longer want the RCMP. My question to the city is this an option that the city is still toying with, or are we still going to be subjected to the low life of the RCMP in 20 years from now, when we are a much larger city than we are now. Thank you.
So thank you for your question. I think we always want to be cautious, right? I think we want to make sure this is a respectful dialogue. Just because one represents one's actions, whether it's RCMP, whether it's politicians, whether it's anybody, it doesn't always represent the whole. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. I appreciate your concern because I know throughout the world we see a lot, not just in Canada, around the identity that is presented around what enforcement can be. But we also see the other side. People who don't see their families for weeks on end, people who walk in on people on the worst day of their lives. This RCMP has been there when I have had crises in my own family. So I will say the RCMP in Airdrie, as far as my experiences are concerned, have been nothing but exceptional. And I will say that wholeheartedly. I appreciate your concerns. I do want to answer your question. And I would also like to lean on my Director of Protective Services to speak to it a little bit as well. But what I will say is this. The City of Airdrie last term had the opportunity to receive some grant money to do an entire review of what our police force should and could look like, what is best for Airdrie, not just from a financial standpoint, but from a services standpoint. We had a third party do that review. It was fairly extensive. It was funded by the province because at the time they were talking a lot about a provincial police force. And the guidance that came back to us is that at this time, as the provincial police force has been presented, there is not an adequate level of service, particularly for the value on the dollar, that we could potentially get. Now, that's just the very high level statement. I'm going to lean to my colleague here to dig into it a bit more because you are part of that process. So this is Director Weinberger. He's our Director for Protective Services, so fire and policing. Do you want to dig into that a little bit more and talk about the dynamics right now between the provincial and then how that's affecting the RCMP conversation and what that potential is? So the door's not closed, sir, on those conversations. Obviously, the province does pivot quite quickly sometimes on what that policing could look like, but I'm going to leave it to my expert to get into the more technical aspect of the conversation. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor Spearman. We have done 2 extensive studies on looking at different policing models for the City of Airdrie and has overwhelmingly come back every time that the RCMP supports the City of Airdrie better than anyone else can for the dollars that we pay. We have a contract, as well as the province has a contract, where the RCMP are the provincial police force until 2032. We don't have any details other than the province of Alberta is establishing or have established the Alberta Sheriff's Police Force. And we have no other details on how that will roll out, what our options will be come 2032. But leading up to 2032, we continually advocate. We work with the RCMP on a federal and provincial level to answer the questions for us. We collaborate extensively on what we're doing on a day-to-day basis and moving forward because we know a transition, if the province tells us we are getting out of community policing with the RCMP, we need a lot of time to do that. This is a population of almost 100,000 people. It takes time. Like it's taking we figure 5 to 7 years to do that. So we continually talk to the province as well as the RCMP to move towards them targets.
Thank you, Director Weinberger. I just want to jump in because 2 of the questions that we had emailed in are very similar to your question, but one is just slightly different and it talks more about the future, what people can expect. Like you said, it could be 5, 7, 10, we don't know, years down the road. Would people be able to expect some kind of public consultation or what will you see happening, or do you know that yet?
Thanks, Jill. We don't know that yet. We continually ask. We're looking for some guidance. We have meetings at the end of this month again with the Minister of Public Safety to try to get some of them answers or what that rollout's going to look like leading up to 2032. I'm sure the RCMP, we know we've been told federally the RCMP are staying in community policing. They will not leave any municipality without policing. We continue to go on that premise. And like I say, when we hear something differently, we will react. we will make plans. But again, our dates, we have a contract in place till 2032.
Thank you, Director Weinberger. I'll open it back up to the audience first.
Hi, I would like to thank all the security service for all your work. I know how difficult it can be seeing humanity in its worst. I mean, you do see it also in some of its best. However, with the changing of society, I know how hard it is to get members to fit your criteria, like their psychological profile, because as good as Canadians are right now, sometimes we have some dark part of our psyche, and when you go out in public, they do push you to your dark side. How do you, on a regular basis, vet your members for, their psychological profile, per se?
I think I understand what you're saying. I think you're asking, how do we have a process to monitor behaviors and
Continuously.
okay. So you're asking if we have a process, is that the question?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I think I can answer that in general. So the RCMP, so members and public servants have a very robust support systems within built in to the RCMP. Day to day, so all of us here that are sitting here tonight, we are all supervisors and or managers. So we engage with our members every day. We also have an early warning system, if you will. If a member, for example, if I'm involved in a collision, if I have a public complaint against me, or if I have some sort of incident that, a certain number, and it's actually 3, then immediately I am notified because I'm the officer in charge, and it will say, I'll pretend it's Chris. Chris has had 3 items. Can you please meet with him, see if we can get to the bottom of what may have caused these? Maybe it was a snowstorm and I don't have any concerns, or maybe the public complaint is something that was investigated and found, that he didn't do something. But at the end of the day, I can tell you, in the last year, I also have an ability to do an order in. So if I am concerned about somebody's well-being, whether it's medical or psychological, we have our own health services that is out of Calgary, and I will order in a member, and that means I will take them off duty until such time as they are properly assessed for whatever it is, whether it's a medical or psychological. We also have peer-to-peer programs. We have a very, very robust support systems within. We also have, we're lucky in Airdrie. We also have our own chaplain, who is able to be that person that that allows us, if they don't meet the threshold that I can do an order in, or I think it's an order in situation, then I can also quietly have our chaplain go and connect with the member. But really what it is it is usually the peers, it is usually ourselves when we notice that Lauren's just not right. So what's happening with Lauren? And then you talk to Lauren and you find out, that Lauren's husband had a stroke, or you learn things, the pressures outside of policing that they need some support with. And so, as I said, within the organization for members and our public servants, we do have a very robust supports. And if I can speak, with respect to conduct, so you're talking about, that's the psychological piece. If there's a conduct piece, I am obligated under the RCMP Act to report that up and determine, whether or not that member is able to continue to be operational. And then an investigation is done into whatever concerning conduct may, and there only has to be, what's the word, an appearance of it. I don't investigate it. We actually, I can tell you right now that under the current commissioner, so we have a conduct advisor in every province now, and so that though I don't do the investigations anymore, where I used to, my job is to report them if I'm concerned that maybe a member is not, they're neglecting their duty or they haven't been forthright in something. Then there's a large number under the RCMP Code of Conduct that we are required to follow. And my job and Chris's job and every member, whether it's from a constable all the way up to me, if we become aware that the conduct of a member is in question, then it has to be reported. And so we are leveling up across the country now and being more consistent with what those expectations are. So, I hope that's answered your question with respect to sort of the medical, psychological piece, but also conduct. So I am required to report up anything, and as is any member, a constable or otherwise, if there's anything that appears to be a contravention of the RCMP Act, it has to be reported. And then we have to consult with our conduct advisors, and they will tell us that it is yes, there will be a code of conduct investigation. It's very thorough. It's very intense. And sometimes members are taken off the road. Sometimes they're allowed to continue with maybe close supervision. Sometimes they're put on admin duties, and sometimes they're suspended with or without pay. So there is a broad, I hope I've covered what you were asking.
I'm going to go to a question that was emailed in to us. So there was a couple of questions actually around the RCMP's use of social media. And I'm just going to summarize by saying they're centered around, is there value in using social media as a detachment, not the larger Alberta detachment, but Airdrie in particular and specifically? And are there any plans for something along those lines?
Yes, thank you for the question. So the short answer is yes, there is an interest in exploring some sort of online presence by the detachment. So I am in discussions with Division, who we are kind of sort of guided by the Stratcoms. But they're also, so we are looking into what would be best for Airdrie and how to manage it. One of the things about social media platforms, as I understand them, for them to be meaningful and efficient and effective, they would require pretty much 24/7 engagement. So that is a piece that we have to figure out what it's going to look like. I also am, for myself personally, I also want to ensure that any social media platform that we do move forward with does not become a place where folks, I don't want that to be where people send in complaints, because it's not meant to be that way. It's meant to be a communication tool. One of the things in the questions, so we are looking into some different options because the RCMP is we serve in a bilingual format. We must offer all of our communication must be in both official languages. So although that sounds simple, it does require translation. So if I want to send a message about, hey, we're having a youth bike rodeo, and I want to put it on, let's say, Facebook, I have to send it for translation into Ottawa, and it has to come back before it can be posted on for example, on Facebook. So I have to be strategic. I have to work with the city. We have had some conversations about how we might be able to do something that I am not going against RCMP policy, but maybe we can have something that makes more sense. I do have a lot of bilingual members here, but I'm not able to use their translation. And it just is the way that it is. So we're looking at it. One of the things I also, want to point out is that there has been some suggestion that, social media is essential to public safety. And I just want to speak to that a little bit. Again, unless you have somebody monitoring it every second, we have to be really careful about what we expect that to be. So my piece with respect to is it essential, for public safety? I would say that it's essential, I would say that it's an important communication tool, and I acknowledge that we don't have one. We have looked at it a couple of times, and we seem to run into more barriers than not. But I think we're at a place now where, with the support of the Stratcoms and Jill's team, we might be able to come up with something deliverable. But I do want to just say that the idea of that is that we're sharing relevant community information. We can communicate about, local initiatives, public safety reminders, crime prevention messaging, but it ought not be expected that whatever platform we come up with is going to be providing this, run and hide, do a lockdown, shelter in place. We have other methods that's done through division and through public alerts, Amber alerts. All of those things already exist, and sometimes you can over inundate people with things. But again, my biggest thing is how we're going to manage it, and how do I be nimble and agile so that we are that whatever platform we have is relevant to. We have a very large Francophone community here, so it is important to consider that piece of being able to offer it in both official languages. So we are working on it, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I do think it's a valuable tool. I know that there has been a lot, I think it's not a surprise that I'm old. My grandchildren tell me that Facebook is for raisins, so I don't really know. I'm a raisin, but I don't have Facebook. So I just feel like we need to make sure whatever we land on is something that is relevant to the three wonderful youth who came up and were brave enough to talk about how do we communicate? What do you need from us? So we're going to try and figure something out, and I hope that it is something, and it probably will start as something, and it always, in a perfect world, it evolves into something better. But we want it to make sure that it lands correctly, and so stay tuned. But it's not going to be tomorrow.
So Monday. All right, we have a half an hour left. So if you've been holding on to your question, don't keep holding on to it because we'll run out of time. Did it say it went till 9? Oh, I was going to shut you guys down at 8. Well, we'll go until you're out of questions. How about that? Is there anyone else that wants to jump up? All right. Back to traffic, because that is the hot topic coming in through email. Not about speeding this time. This one's focused on red lights and U-turns in particular. They're seeing lots of near misses because people are doing illegal U-turns and running red lights. And so the question really is just, is there any enforcement of this happening and how that happens?
I wrote a U-turn ticket on Saturday. We write, I mean, ticketing is definitely an important piece. You're not going to ticket your way out of traffic problems. There's lots of other things, education being one of them. We had our I believe he's a director for transportation that was up speaking. With TAC, that's an important piece. But I mean, I know people are very interested in the numbers always. So we wrote 565 intersection related tickets. And I would say, given the traffic increases, just anecdotally, even over the last couple of years since 40th Avenue was created, let's say, that's a drop in the bucket. Brad, I'm sure you guys have written a lot as well. But it's the education piece. It's, what kind of a product are they putting out at when you get your driver's license? It took my son 3 times this year. So I'd say at least they're not giving it away. At least they didn't to him. Getting the youth, oftentimes you ticket a youth and, you're punishing the parents or what have you. So that's, again, that's just another example of just a small piece of it. So at home, putting your kids in driver training, taking your kids out, putting effort into that is also very, very important. Yeah, it's a collaborative piece, and us up here with the municipal enforcement, we worked together, ran some joint ops this year on a bunch of things. So we're doing what we can, and like 565 intersection related tickets is significant, and I don't see that piece slowing down, and we'll continue with the other parts of it as well. So I don't know if you had anything to add on that, Brad or Kevin.
I actually have one to add in there to go along with the enforcement and education. I believe tomorrow is an increase on some provincial tickets of 30%. Starts tomorrow. So if you're out there speeding and you do get caught, you will be receiving an additional 30% on what exists now.
Yeah, and just in addition, from a municipal enforcement perspective, so we communicate back and forth with the RCMP. We're in the same building. They wrote 500 and some odd. We're right around the 400 mark for last year. We just continue. The trouble with U-turn, intersection tickets, red lights, all that fun stuff is typically on observation. And some people smarten up, some don't when they see a patrol car there. But we're still, when you're interacting with almost 1,000 tickets in a year, the enforcement is there, and we understand as a growing municipality, it's on us. We just continue to enforce and monitor areas that are problematic.
Thank you for that. Are there any more email questions sitting in the box? Okay. Are there any more questions from the audience? I know we said it goes later than this, and some of the value that we find is in the informal part after. So all of our officers, our municipal enforcement, everyone you see on the panel will be here if you want to have more one-on-one informal conversations. Again, there's 2 municipal enforcement officers outside that you can talk to as well if you have any questions. So I'll do like a last call for questions from the audience. We'll shut down the Q&A portion and we'll just go to more of an informal part if everyone is okay with that. Yeah, I got a thumbs up. Nice. Any last questions? Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, we would have stayed longer before, but we didn't want to hog the table and we wanted some time to sort of word those questions appropriately. So I'll go first, that's okay. So I noticed that on the workload graph, that calls related to the Mental Health Act take up a larger amount of officer time, even though they appear near the bottom when you look at the file types by count. Could you explain why those files take a longer time to resolve?
Hello, thank you for that. So the mental health calls, so there's lots and lots of follow-up that's in place with those calls. So lots of variety, lots of different variations that we receive for in-crisis calls. And I'd say 85% of the time we're doing long-term follow-up with those individuals. So that's why you'd see those continuous, those numbers there for sure.
And also the first response. So the crisis response, you did ask about the training. So the de-escalation of an in-crisis client takes time. One thing when your world is falling apart and you are having trouble processing what is happening to you, things cannot move quickly. Then if the clinician is engaged at the call, or if there isn't a clinician and we are consulting with Alberta Health Services on the phone, we take our direction from the expert. They will assist us in strategies, communication techniques. If there's an emergency, we will intervene at the moment, but our whole goal is to de-escalate, and that takes a tremendous amount of time when someone is in crisis. People that are in crisis have trouble processing what is happening around them. And I don't know if it happens to be you that's in crisis, what has caused the crisis. And that is why these things take a very long time. And when we consult with the clinician, whether they are with us at the call at the time, or whether we are on the phone with a clinician who has access to the medical records and can guide us on what the best strategy is, it takes time. If there is a place in that crisis that where we have to make a decision or we are instructed to arrest under the Mental Health Act, now we move into a different response. So that is taking them to whatever hospital that we are directed to. That could be South Campus on the other side of Calgary. It could be PLC. It could be Didsbury. We go where we are told to go. So we go with them. We don't leave them alone. We don't send them in the ambulance. We take them. And then for their safety and the safety of whatever unit we are at, we stay there until they can be assessed. So as much as the follow-up after the aftercare, if you will, that is one piece, but each and every crisis cannot be quick unless somebody is actively a danger to themselves at that moment. Then it is different. But our whole thing is to de-escalate and have them want to go, have them acknowledge that I need some help and I'm in a tough place. That is not quick. Does that clarify the piece for the time?
Yes, that was great. Thank you.
Okay.
In what ways does the RCMP ensure youth are held accountable for harmful actions while also helping them learn from mistakes and stay connected to their community?
Thank you for that. So accountability is huge. So there's a couple of things that was mentioned earlier, our Positive Directions program. So that's been fantastic. We're going into our second year. So that's one thing that referrals can be made towards that program. As well as we have lots of calls for youth, proactive stuff as well. One thing would be the bullying bylaw ticket that's been implemented quite a few times already this year for ongoing continuous issues. We're just like municipal enforcement within the schools. We like to do an education piece first. However, that's not always the case, not always successful, and we need to step it up. So if it does continue after that, we we do go to charges as well, and then go from there. So lots of resources as well within the Positive Directions program. They don't quite fit into that. We ensure that we can engage them somewhere else so that we can get them on the right track as well. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. For a second time, are there any final questions? Okay.
Hi, I'm Daryl. I'm not here to start a fight, but I would like to know the difference between patrol and enforcement. Because, you know, I believe Brad said that that they've given out 500 plus tickets last year. To me, that's dismally low. You could probably write that many in a week if you actually wanted to. I see you guys driving through the neighborhoods all the time. Perfect. That slows down the car in front of you and slows down the car behind you. Does nothing for the guy that's running the stop sign back there. Does nothing for the big concrete trucks that are coming through and everything else there. Is there a plan to do any active enforcement versus just patrolling?
I think we did it 2,095 times.
Was that?
I think, just for speeding alone, we did 2,095 times, 565 for distracted driving or intersections and 300 and some for distracted driving. So not quite sure what you're looking for, but.
Okay, so I'm out there every single morning. Anyone that's driven through has seen me out there.
Okay.
And I watch these drivers every single day doing the same thing. And me and some of the other, we would just quit calling you because nothing comes of it. Nobody shows up, nobody comes in, nobody gets back to us, nobody, I'm not saying you guys do a bad job. You don't, you do a great job, but you can do better.
When's the last time you made a call to the police?
It's been a while for me.
About how long do you think?
I'm going to say probably 6-7 months.
Okay, well, I can talk to you after. I can grab your name. I can chat about it and we can.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean.
See where your issues are for sure.
I've clocked guys at 60 kilometers going through the school zone. 60 kilometers. And they do it because there's no consequences.
Yeah.
Well, and it's every single day.
Yeah. So can I just lean in just for a moment? I only asked, so I just tailored the ticket numbers based on what the questions were. It was speeding, it was intersections and distracted driving. So we only came with those numbers. We did not only write 3,000 tickets last year. We wrote a lot more tickets than that. And so I don't want to, I also don't want to debate. We try and be where we ought to be.
But what I'm saying is what you're saying is not what people are seeing out there. When we see the same thing every single day.
Then I would like you to talk to Chris. Chris will then speak to Brad. Again, Brad was very clear that they are data driven and we look for what we can do. But I am going to say it again. The number of kilometers that require enforcement and ought to have enforcement, I would need to have probably, I don't know how many, but I will tell you, this. It is in our resource planning to increase our municipal traffic section. We have 2. I have asked, and I just met with Director Weinberger. I will be going before the police committee. I will also be going before Mayor and Council, and I am asking for more resources in over the next 3 years to double our municipal traffic section. In a perfect world, we can change driving behavior. But you know that the world is not perfect, my friend. And I can honestly tell you the number of times in the community that I live in, the people often who are doing the speeding, popping U's in front of the school, dropping their kids off, double parking. Guess where they live? They're my neighbors.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's, you know, people talk about one thing, but they actually do another. So we do our best. I can honestly tell you, my husband got a ticket the other day. Not for speeding or going through a red light, but you know, if we have an opportunity. So when you ask for what's the difference between patrolling and enforcement, we did talk a little bit about that. Visibility is one of the big, I can go through, you know, the survey is very interesting and I'm just sort of collating the data, but basically traffic, crime reduction, like property crime, drugs. You know, I can list it for you and we will do that at some point in time. But all I can tell you is that patrolling and visibility is one of our crime reduction strategies. The expectation of citizens is they want to see the police. So that's why we have marked police vehicles. Perhaps the vehicle that is driving through your neighborhood is on the way to a call. We don't go lights and sirens to every single call. It depends on what it is. I might be going to do follow-up, whatever, what have you. So just because somebody is driving doesn't mean, you know, that they are going to be in a position to be able to do that enforcement at that particular moment in time. But I can say that I know where we need to grow our resources, and traffic is one of those places. Youth has been one of the big priorities in this community with this mayor and council, and that will continue. But I have identified with them, and they agree wholeheartedly that we need to double our municipal traffic footprint so that they are able to focus on that mandate and not our general duty members that Chris is in charge of overseeing. They have a bucket and their bucket is filled with a whole bunch of different groups that they got to deal with. And enforcement is one of them. But always, they have to prioritize. And it doesn't mean that they're trying to ignore it. But I will tell you this, if you have a license plate and you observe an offense that is absolutely just chapping you the way that this has been chapping you for all year, get the license plate down, call it in. If we cannot identify the driver, there are ticket options. If you are willing to provide a statement and go to court, we can charge the registered owner. We can do that all day long because we're not everywhere and we can't be. We try, but we can't. Does that help a little bit?
A little bit.
I like your dog.
I know you're stretched thin. I get that.
Well,
I'm just saying from a visual point, from the neighbors, from everybody that's standing there, this is what we see.
Yep.
Now, regardless of what you're doing in the background, everything else, this is what we see. We see the same white Honda blowing through here, doing 70 kilometers every single morning.
Get their license plate.
You know.
If you know who they are, then tell us who they are. And his team, my team, sometimes the only way that you can change behaviors is through, in this case, fines or the lovely superintendent of motor vehicles. If somebody gets enough, they lose their license. So there are consequences. The youth were just asking about consequences, and 9 times out of 10, it's not the youth, sadly. So, but if you, like, I encourage you, like, if it's the same white Honda, for crying out loud, get somebody out there with a freaking pen and paper, give us your name, call it in, and it'll land in one of these shops and we will do our best to do that. And that is what I think what Chris meant by when's the last time you called? And I know you feel frustrated. My husband when he stands on our deck, he goes, listen to those speeding cars on 40th. What are you doing about it? Well, we had a project like just last week. Well, you need another one. So I get it at home too, but we do have a plan and we do have a strategy and we do have to be agile and nimble, but we do need help. And we're doing we are not tone deaf to what is happening with the traffic. You cannot grow a community like this and this fast without having traffic issues. So that's where we're going to grow it. And I know we're going to get support and we will do our best.
Thank you. I can't wait for Inspector Weir's husband to watch this back and see how many times you chucked him under the bus. All right, for a third time, are there any final questions that anyone would like to come up and ask? It looks like the dog has a question.
Jill, if
Yes.
no one else has a question, Inspector Weir, you just brought up something that I think we are going to hear about a lot in like about 6 weeks time or less. The noise piece, the noise piece. We're going to hear about it on council. So I'm curious what's in the hopper here for the summer of 2026 and the loud vehicles on some of our key streets. We know we're going to hear about it. I know, such a surprise, but can you touch on that a little bit? I know, Brad, you touched on it a little bit at the start when you're talking about kind of the things you've done this past year, but yeah, can you lend a little bit of insights into what we can expect for the summer drag season of 2026, please?
So as I mentioned earlier, so we do have a second traffic member for our side. We work collaboratively with the RCMP. So late last summer, we were able to conduct a targeted joint operation. It was very successful. Lots of GD members, our traffic members conducting noise readings, using an improved calibrated sound device right off the exhaust, dealing with racing. And these targeted operations even went outside of our regular hours, trying to target exactly the times and places that this is happening. We're planning to do the same thing this spring, again, collaborating with our partners, the RCMP. We love to work alongside each other and tackle these issues together. So again, not tone deaf to these issues and preparing for this summer the best we can from both sides of the fence and ready to tackle noise, speeding, whatever's thrown at us.
Thank you. I'm sure the people living off of 8th Street, 40th and beyond will be thrilled to hear all this. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Jill.
Awesome. Well, with that, I am going to wrap up the Q&A portion of the evening. As I mentioned, you're all welcome to stay for a little bit, have one-on-one conversations if you'd like to find someone that you wanted to chat with. I want to sincerely, genuinely appreciate all of you for coming out tonight, taking time out of your lives, driving through the snow. It means a lot to us that you're here and you care, and we just really do appreciate that. I'd like to just put a shout out to stay in touch with us. Go on the City of Airdrie website or on our social media. Keep touching base with us all year. You don't have to wait till the town hall each year. We're always there to listen. And with that, I will adjourn and I wish you all well getting home in this weather.
Please feel free to mingle with the nice gentleman sitting at the table out there if you have any concerns for your area.